It is me, your True Heel Phenom SP3. And no, this is not the 3 count. No, this is not True Heel Heat. I promise you guys a AEW Dynamite review right here on our True Heel Heat YouTube channel. My good friends from over at their home, the Jimmy Macaram YouTube channel, Jimmy as well as Marcus Cash, they are going to be doing an AEW Dynamite review for the True Heel Heat YouTube channel going further. Their first one is going to be next week, but I'm going to cover this week's AEW Dynamite that was on November 20th, 2019, emanating from Indianapolis, Indiana. I just want to say it was a really good show, not a surprise. 8 straight weeks, really good shows on both USA as well as the TNT network. But we are here to talk about TNT's best new show, AEW Dynamite, for November 20th, 2019. And we kicked off with a good one. It was Fenix versus Nick Jackson. This was a first time ever matchup. This follows a long rivalry that started ever since the beginning of AEW between the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks. That rivalry was blown off at All Out on August 31st at the Sears Center in Chicago in an epic Escalera de la Muerte ladder match, one of the best matches of the year. And Fenix and Nick Jackson just followed that with one of the hottest openers of 2019. This match was just a balls to the wall, all action for about 15 minutes. These guys did moves that you don't see done just as smooth and crisp as these guys were accomplishing. A couple of the notes that I took for this match. This was Nick Jackson's of the Young Bucks first match in well over 4 years. His last match was on June 7, 2015 in the New Japan Best of the Super Juniors tournament, and he made up for lost time. Well, I just wrote down a couple of the spots that stood out in this match. We had a springboard dive that was missed by Nick Jackson. He did a step-up springboard dive that led into Fenix rolling out of the Ray, then doing a rolling cutter on the floor. We had a German suplex on the apron, which was brutal, by Nick Jackson onto Fenix. Nick Jackson followed that up, bringing him into the ring and then doing a springboard Canadian destroyer, shades of the great Ricky Morton. Yes, 63-year-old Ricky Morton, who pulled that off at AEW Full Gear. And of course, after all these tremendous moves, it's like, what is going to end this match? And it was Fenix pulling out a twisting muscle buster to get the win over Nick Jackson. They had a little stare down after the match. Nick Jackson extended his hand for a handshake, and Fenix posed in his face, gave him the Mexican King pose, and walked out of the ring. Fenix proving once again that he is one of the best wrestlers in the world. And Nick Jackson, I know I speak for all AEW fans, all fans of professional wrestling, give us more Nick Jackson in singles matches. Honestly, this was the best match of the night. It was one of the hottest openers, and in my eyes, the best match that has taken place on AEW Dynamite in 8 weeks. This has been the best match so far. So my hat is off to both Fenix and Nick Jackson because they went all out in this one. So right after that, we had Hikaru Shida going one-on-one with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. This is the #1 ranked woman in AEW, Dr. Britt Baker, versus the #2 ranked woman in Hikaru Shida. We had a fireman's carry into a backbreaker at one point. That was really cool spot there. Britt reversed a cover into the lockjaw. It was a lot of attempts for the lockjaw by Britt Baker, which just makes sense from a psychological standpoint. She has a finishing move that has been dominant in the women's division, and she has tapped out every woman that she has gone against that she's gotten a victory over, that, you know, one exception being Riho. But in this case, she got her big second loss here. Hikaru Shida pulled out all types of knee strikes, and then finally, after hitting the Falcon Arrow, she did the deal. And of course, Excalibur with his great call of, no one kicks out of the Falcon Arrow. And why does he say that? It's because everyone kicks out of the Falcon Arrow. So I love when he announces that. But Hikaru Shida followed that up with a knee strike to get the victory in this one. That was actually a really good match in my eyes. I really liked that one. Then that followed one of the best things that AEW has done with the Dark Order. If you know about the Dark Order, they debuted for AEW at Double or Nothing in May. Ever since then, they have been one of the least over acts. They go from slight silent boos to complete silence in most of their reactions from the crowd. And this is an AEW crowd that reacts to everything. Orange Cassidy is one of the most over people that's in the company. Luchasaurus gets loud chants. Darby Allin, after a few weeks, is one of the most over guys in the company. But Dark Order just don't get any type of reaction. So I want to give AEW a lot of credit for this little vignette. It starts out with a big, heavy guy who's getting picked on by some random street thugs in a train station. Then he goes onto a train alone, and in the advertisement for the train, a little infomercial starts playing about, are you lonely? Are you always getting picked on and bullied? Are you on a losing streak? I love that little tidbit of are you on a losing streak, because it kind of points to people, basically Dark Order recruiting. Whoever's on a losing streak in AEW, it seems to be that will be the person that Dark Order will try to recruit. They just basically presented the Dark Order for the first time as really a cult, which kind of makes sense with how the Creepers create the whole throne for Evil Uno. So I love that, the representation with that. I love the infomercial type of thing. It reminded some people on Twitter, they said it reminded them of the Firefly Funhouse and the kind of weird representation that it had in it. So it was really good stuff. One of the lines that I really enjoyed was, free your mind and stop losing all the time. That was really cute. I really liked it. It was presented as an infomercial, and I said it's the best thing that they've done with the Dark Order since AEW has started. Following that, we had the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal, similar for a luxurious AEW 14 karat or 47 karat, whatever they said, diamond ring. Honestly, it reminded me of the Battle Dome in WCW in like 1995. I believe Diamond Dallas Page won the Battle Dome and won the diamond ring, which is very appropriate because next week when the two finalists go one-on-one, they've now announced that Diamond Dallas Page is going to be presenting them with the diamond ring. So I like that little callback, but honestly, they didn't do enough to kind of explain why this is something that these guys want to win. Like, is it going to lead to anything else? So I will give them a slight notchback, a slight negative in that point, but it was a really fun Battle Royal. I'll run off the participants here. We had Hangman Page, Jungle Boy, Kip Sabian, Chucky T, Orange Cassidy, Pentagon Jr., we had Sonny Kiss, Billy Gunn, Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc, Marco Stunt, and of course the one and only MJF. The match started off with Daniels dressed as Phoenix, fooling Pentagon Jr. again and distracting him, leading to Chucky T eliminating Pentagon Jr. MJF played the role of spoiler in this match, kind of messing up the cool little spots between Sonny Kiss and Billy Gunn. It was ass versus ass. It was MJF that eliminated Sonny Kiss. After that, it was Billy Gunn had a standoff with Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy with his most vicious kicks in professional wrestling, and MJF eliminated him. Billy Gunn played the role of the Giant, of the Big Show in this match. That was a little off-putting, I will say, because Billy Gunn, you know, he is a large man, don't get me wrong, but it kind of made everyone else in the match seem smaller by this guy that has never been presented as a giant or a big guy in other companies that he's been in, whether that be WWE, whether that be Impact Wrestling, but you know, it kind of was off-putting, but it was kind of fun at the same time. I liked the little spots with Billy Gunn. He got a hell of a reaction from the crowd, and it was a nice debut for Billy Gunn. And I think we're going to see more of Billy Gunn in more of these occasional bits, but this use of him was kind of half and half, I will say. Then Jimmy Havoc, he was also eliminated by Billy Gunn, and he went off with a staple gun and stapled all the guys in the match. This has led to Jimmy Havoc getting a fine, and I think this is gonna create some sort of story with Jimmy Havoc, which is something that I've been wanting. If you know, you've seen the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, me and Jimmy Havoc have had a little encounter with each other. He threatened me with an axe and stole my rent money. So Jimmy Havoc, I want all the success in the world to you, so you don't have to steal my rent money. I'm just a common black kid from Harlem living in the Bronx, and I want my rent money. I need my rent money. I need a house over my head. So I need Jimmy Havoc to not threaten me with axes and steal my rent money. So I want him success in AEW. Sean Spears, he wasn't in the match, but he attacked Joey Janela with his steel chair. He got Joey Janela eliminated, continuing their little rivalry. Jungle Boy eliminated Kip Sabian, so it looked like Jungle Boy and Hangman Page were the final two participants. And of course, MJF, like I said before, playing the role of spoiler. He never was eliminated, and he eliminated Jungle Boy from the outside, got back in the ring. They led to a little pull-apart brawl between MJF and Hangman Page, so it will be Hangman Page versus MJF for the Dynamite Dozen AEW Diamond Ring next week in Chicago, Illinois. I love the fact that these two men have basically started a rivalry ever since Double or Nothing. They've kind of cooled down with it. MJF playing the role of Cody's best friend leading up to his heel turn. Hangman Page going after AEW Championship and his rivalry with Pac. But now they have come back together, and the winner of this match will be the winner of the AEW Diamond Ring. So hopefully next week they explain to us what the hell the big deal is. I don't really know. So next, the segment of the night. And I'm saying this as someone who watches both NXT as well as AEW Dynamite. The best segment on Wednesday night, November 20th, was Chris Jericho's promo leading into his interaction with SCU. Chris Jericho started off the promo pulling a Arthur Fonzarelli, a Fonzie from Happy Days, when Fonzie could not say sorry. Chris Jericho couldn't say sorry for his temper tantrum. Last week, we saw the highlights of Scorpio Sky getting the victory over Chris Jericho, his first AEW loss, and the temper tantrum that Jericho pulled after the match that ended the show. Chris Jericho wanted to apologize for this, but couldn't say the word sorry, so he had his big hurt Jake Hager say it for him. Hilarious little bit. He announced that next week, he had a huge announcement that he announced on Twitter a couple of hours before AEW Dynamite, and his huge announcement was that next week he will get his long-awaited thank you from AEW management, and we will have the Chris Jericho Thanksgiving celebration for the Le Champion. I hope I say that as well as Chris Jericho said it, because every time he said it, I laughed hysterically. This led to SCU coming out and basically Scorpio Sky saying that his life is basically changed since he's defeated Chris Jericho. His DMs are blowing up. He's been partying all week. His high school crush, Melanie Parsons, has called him and hit him up in the DMs, and now they're going out next week. Jericho had a great response to that, saying that he's seen Melanie and she's gained a lot of weight since high school. And Scorpio Sky with an even better comeback with saying that he likes big butts and he cannot lie. And of course, Excalibur has to drop and the brothers can't deny. So awesome little bit right there. That was hysterical. One of the funniest promos exchanges that I've seen in quite some time. Honestly, I haven't seen something as funny as this. I think Uncle Dave Meltzer said it best. He said he hasn't seen something as funny as this since the Kurt Angle Edge stuff from back in the day. I want to say I haven't seen something as funny as this as the Fashion Police. Fashion Police from a couple of years ago on SmackDown with Tyler Blees and Fandango. Every week I was looking forward to the Fashion Police because they had their funny little bits. But this was like the most funny that I've seen in an in-ring exchange in quite some time. This led to SCU pulling reverse psychology on Chris Jericho, riling him up, leading to him basically challenging Scorpio Sky to a one-on-one matchup next week in the Sears Center in Chicago for the AEW Championship. Scorpio Sky finally reveals that he basically pulled the reverse psychology on Chris Jericho and that he will make Le Champion into La Bitch. And I love the little bit on Being the Elite on Monday that had him basically pulling the gif of the high school kid who said the little diss word with the hoodie on his head with the glasses. That was awesome by BTE. So I got to give them credit for that. This led to Jericho, Hager, and the Inner Circle attacking SCU, laying them out. Santana and Ortiz putting handcuffs on Christopher Daniels and Kazarian, leading to Jim Ross saying the line that these guys are used to dealing with handcuffs. And all you hokey, stupid little wrestling fans who compared that to Jim Cornette's line on NWA Power, you deserve to have your Twitter deleted, all your Playboy magazines pulled from under your bed by your mother in the basement of her house. And you need to stay away from the computer because you guys are fucking idiots. They are described as street thugs and ruffians. Street thugs and ruffians in a video that the Inner Circle produced. So yes, they do have experience with handcuffs. JR said it best, they're wrestling villains. They have experience with handcuffs. It's not a racial thing. It's something that they have presented themselves as from the beginning of their time in AEW. So you sound like idiots pointing that out and trying to condemn Jim Ross in the same way fans condemned Jim Cornette. One was a starvation joke that was completely came off as a racist joke, and one was describing the two characters. So stop, calm down, stay away from Twitter, go back and read the Playboy magazines under your mother's bed, whatever you got to do. But of course, SCU got beaten down. Jericho with one of the best Judas effects ever on Scorpio Sky. So it looked like they had laid out SCU until the Jurassic Express came down. Of course, Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy were laid out very quickly. And it led to Luchasaurus looking like the baddest dude in AEW, having the Inner Circle run off. Him and Jake Hager had a quick little stare down. The fans were smoking hot for this stare down. Fans seemed like they really want to see Luchasaurus go one-on-one with Jake Hager. Jake Hager, of course, threw the watch into the crowd, and as it seemed like they were going to go one-on-one and get into a fight, Jake Hager had to be the heel, and he walked away. This transitioned very smoothly after the next commercial break to Luchasaurus going one-on-one with the Liberian Peter Avalon. Great little Peter Avalon dropping a little gem of talking about Jurassic Park, about the Luchasaurus. But Luchasaurus got the victory very quickly. As we say, grand opening, grand closing. And next following that, it was once again the Inner Circle's own Santana and Ortiz going up against the Private Party. This was the Matt Travis Memorial match. You know, my thoughts and prayers to the family of Matt Travis. Great kid. I've seen him a lot in House of Glory, kind of learning the story from Excalibur on commentary, who had a great night on Wednesday with the little tidbits that he was adding to each and every match, telling us the story that Santana and Ortiz basically convinced young Matt Travis, who was on the streets, to get off of the streets and embrace professional wrestling, which led to him training and becoming a professional wrestler. And then from him training at House of Glory, he trained Private Party. So they have a big connection to this young man, and they went out there and had a pretty good match in my eyes. I love the little like moves that they were doing, the tag team, the psychology and the simplicity of Santana and Ortiz really stand out to me. Like, other than the Revival, I don't think not a lot of tag teams get the simplicity of tag team wrestling and the psychology behind it, but Santana and Ortiz do. Revival is another team that does that as well, but Santana and Ortiz really get it done in All Elite Wrestling. This match had a big botch. Like I said, I thought it was a good match, but the botch really hurt the match. It really hurt the timing. The referee, I guess, was supposed to be get his leg pulled by Santana, and instead of his leg getting pulled, his leg was not pulled at all, and he just stopped the count. I think the second time in like 3 or 4 weeks that a referee has stopped the count just dramatically and for no reason at all. So AEW needs to fix that. There's something that they need to fix ASAP. They need to just have the referees go out there and call it like a shoot. If the guy's not kicking out, you count it. So what? They were going to lose anyway. Santana and Ortiz took the loss after Nick Jackson took the sock with the baseballs in it from Santana, and this led to Private Party hitting the gin and juice for the victory. After the match, it was Sammy Guevara who attacked Nick Jackson on the outside, and then the Private Party, but it was Dustin Rhodes making his return to AEW with the cast over his hand after the attack from the Inner Circle, and more importantly, Jake Hager, and he attacked all 3 members of the Inner Circle with Dustin Rhodes, Nick Jackson, and Private Party standing tall at the end. One little tidbit. This, Johnny, you'll have to like rewind this. I don't know. No, this came afterwards. So Johnny, just cut this last part that I just said in between the match and me saying this, so you could just start right now. So yeah, next we had Kenny Omega promo. He had a little promo talking about his match next week in Chicago as they ran down the lineup for next week's Sears Center return in Chicago in Thanksgiving Eve. Not only do we have the Dynamite Dozen final between Paige and MJF and Scorpio Sky versus Chris Jericho for the AEW Championship, it is going to be Pac versus Omega 2. So Kenny Omega had a little promo in the backstage area. He was training with Michael Nakazawa. The little weights, he had like 5-pound weights on each side. suicide. I didn't really like that, I will say. That kind of threw me off. He was kind of mixing the comedy with something that was supposed to be serious, unless we're supposed to take from this that Kenny Omega is still not the Kenny Omega that we want, and that he hasn't started his redemption tour, and that he's still not taking things seriously. That's what I took from the promo. The promo was good, but it was kind of off-putting with the weights in the background and the comedy. It kind of threw me off of everything, but he says that he's going to push the reset button and get the victory over Pac because he believes that Pac led to his downfall, that Moxley just picked up the scraps, but it's all started with Pac getting the victory over him at All Out, and he gets his redemption next week in Chicago. And then finally, we ended AEW Dynamite with Jon Moxley going one-on-one with Darby Allin. Darby Allin with the entrance of the year, the little video package that he had, that he was crowd surfing in a body bag at like some rock concert. And this led to the guys bringing him back out in the Moxley body bag, and him unzipping the body bag himself and then rolling down the ramp on his skateboard. One of the best entrances of the year, and it was on national television. Gotta love it. Then we had basically an all-out brawl from the start. Moxley came through the crowd like he usually does. Once he got over the guardrail, Darby Allin hit him with a suicide dive. These guys fought on the floor for a good 3 to 4 minutes before the match even started. And then when the match started, it was just a very simple brawl. And the nice psychology of Darby Allin, my good friend and co-host of True Hill Heat, Top Guy JJ, was chatting with us and a few others during the match. And he was like, Darby Allin, he's like a buck 15. He was like, I don't believe any of his offense, and they just tried their best to make Top Guy JJ look like an idiot. So congrats to you, AEW. You made him look like an idiot, because all of Darby Allin's offense was effective and it made sense. He just threw his body at Jon Moxley for the most part. He stuck his hands into the turnbuckle and stomped on his hands, basically dislocating his fingers, and that became the main point that he kept focusing on. When Moxley puts him in the body bags and starts stomping on his head, and then eventually he pulls him out from the body bag, he just bit his hand because that was the main point that he was working on the whole match. Darby Allin with his little cool little comeback, which led into the coffin drop, which we thought was going to be the coffin drop, but Jon Moxley reversed that in a rear naked choke, and the match all ended with both guys on the top rope. Jon Moxley biting the flesh of Darby Allin and then hitting a top rope paradigm shift. And my God, God bless Darby Allin and his soul. I thought his neck was broken. That was a crazy finish to a crazy match. Nick Jackson versus Rey Fenix, I'm going to say, was the match of the night, but Darby Allin and Jon Moxley went out there and put on a show in the main event. So, for this edition of AEW Dynamite, our first review on the YouTube channel, True Hill Heat, I'm going to give a grade of B+ for this episode of AEW Dynamite. Like I said before, I really enjoyed the Rey Fenix versus Nick Jackson match. I really enjoyed the Dark Order vignette. The segment of the whole night for me was Chris Jericho and the SCU promo, as well as Darby Allin going one-on-one with Jon Moxley was really fun. My cons or my negatives were the botch in the Private Party versus Proud and Powerful match, really messing up the flow of that match. I did not like that at all. Also, Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker, I thought was a good match, but it was kind of a come down after the hot match that was Nick Jackson versus Phoenix. Maybe if they put like a promo in between that match, those two matches, it would have helped the flow a little bit more, but a long match after that balls to the wall match kind of hurt the flow of the show and kind of slowed AEW Dynamite down for me. So post your comments in the comments section below of what you thought of the November 20th, 2019 edition of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to have more AEW Dynamite reviews going forward. Next week, my good friend Jimmy Macaram and Marcus Cash will take over the AEW Dynamite review. The Dynamite duo, as I call them, Macaram and Cash. Bring it together right here to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. So if you're just viewing this on the random, push that subscribe button and enjoy all the material, all the segments that we got here. For your True Hill Phenom SP3, this has been the first edition of our AEW Dynamite review. Signing off until next time.